Hello, everyone. Welcome back to What's Coming Out in the World of Indie. Now, we have a great list coming up, as always, this week, presented by the. I'm not going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to say the amazing Mike Zook this week because I felt bad about saying it last week. Um,
That's fine. I can put up with it.
yeah, I know. Even in the tweet, when I put in disgusting and then had to put just kidding afterwards, or not really, I felt bad. It's like, I tag developers in this. They're going to think I'm super mean if they even read that top comment. But thankfully, I don't think any of them do, so that's the main thing to come away with. But we have a great list of 5 indie games coming out this week. One of which I actually knew before Mike sent it over, which is I know a shock horror from the guy who claims to run a website based on indie games. Um, but let's just jump straight into it. Obviously, we have Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord coming out. By all accounts, is this an RTS game, Mike?
Um, kinda. It's kind of weird. So it's like an open world RPG, and you're able to walk around the town and interact with people like you would in most open world RPGs, like your Skyrims and Witchers and stuff. And you're third person following your guy. But
Mhm,
combat isn't like just one on one fights or one on three. You're not by yourself. You're fighting in like an army.
mhm,
So it is like large battalions versus other large battalions, but it's not quite in like the RTS sense where you're got like a large map and you're just commanding units. You are like a part of the unit and you kind of like work with everyone else around you to kill the bad guys. And I think you get to come up with like the strategies and you get to like to issue the commands. You're the commander of the battalion kind of,
mhm.
but it's not it's like a weird blend of RTS slash traditional open world. It looks really cool. I've heard great things about the rest of the Mountain Blade series. I haven't played any of them myself yet, but
Mhm.
it's always been a series that I've been interested in. So fans of like the medieval RPGs, especially, I think would be really interested in this, especially since it does have a bit of a more strategic element to it than something like a Greedfall would have.
Mhm. Well, it definitely sounds like a lot more palatable to people who aren't really into RTS games, which is great because that's
Yeah.
not really my genre to begin with. So I'm definitely a bit more interested in this now, given the RPG elements you mentioned. So it's definitely worth checking out. That comes out on the 25th of October. The next game, though, on the list that comes out on the 27th, the Pinball Wizard. Now, I was a little interested in this because when I saw Pinball, I thought, oh God, here's another reskinned pinball machine with something, shape, or form on it, like we had with sort of the Walking Dead pinball or Star Wars pinball,
Yeah.
and there'd be nothing really of note of it. But this kind of takes pinball, uh, that kind of the idea of a game of pinball, and completely turns it on its head and creates its own little genre out of it
Yes.
almost. Tell us a little bit about it.
So the Pinball Wizard, it was formerly an Apple Arcade exclusive. We've had a few other Apple Arcade exclusives on the show previously that have been freed from their imprisonment on Apple Arcade and are now hitting other platforms. The Pinball Wizard is doing so, and it is an action roguelike pinball machine game. Um, you are basically in a tower. It's a large tower with different levels, and there are enemies and barrels and stuff on each floor of the tower. And you basically launch yourself like a pinball to try and take them out and advance to the next tier of the tower. So it is not just another reskinned pinball machine type game that we have literally 5 billion of. It is taking the idea of a pinball machine and turning it into an actual unique styled game. It
Mhm.
reminds me a lot of other games recently that have been doing things like this, like Curse to Golf, and Turbo Golf Racing, stuff like that, that have been taking sports and kind of turning it into something that you wouldn't expect. Even Kovac's Pitch from last week, which was a rhythm based baseball game, it's kind of part of that indie darling that's starting to sprout up everywhere. That's taking something ordinary, something that you wouldn't really expect anything from, and trying to create a unique experience with it. And
Mhm.
I love the art style. The music is fantastic. I love pinball machines, but I don't really want to play them in video game form. So this kind of scratches that pinball itch while being something different than just a regular pinball machine.
Yeah, 100%. I was definitely kind of thrown off course when I saw the trailer, and it was a very short teaser sort of trailer that I got for
Hmm.
it, and I thought it looked, really fun, interesting. I love the art style, particularly.
Yes.
Well, I love that sort of cutesy art style, anyways. I think we all know this at this
Yeah.
stage. Um, but yeah, no, it definitely looks like it could be a good bit of fun. Nothing too stressful or sort of kind of difficult to get a grips with. So that's always a nice thing as well. You can just jump into it. Coming up next, though, I mean, other end of the spectrum, still something I absolutely love. And this is the game of the week that I actually knew about because I recently saw it on EEK3, not E3. EEK3 is home to PS1's sort of showcase that they run every now and then. It's Signalis, I'm going to say, or Signalius.
Yes. Signalis or Signalis.
Yeah.
I say
Well,
Signalis.
I saw it and I was immediately captured by it at E3 because it's very much a. Um, it looks like the style of an old Resident Evil PS1
Yes.
style game. It's got that vibe about it. It's got the aesthetic of it. Is there anything else I'm missing, Mike?
Not particularly. No, it is a isometric survival horror game, very much inspired by the early days of Resident Evil. It does have a little bit more of a sci-fi y take on it than just your standard zombie story, in my opinion. And just
Mm,
like the art style and stuff, and the main character kind of give off hints that there might be something deeper to the story than what we have seen from the trailers. But no, it looks great. I love the art style, especially when it takes you into like the animated scenes where it still uses the pixel art and stuff like that. It looks phenomenal.
mhm,
But it is a slow paced survival horror game. If you're going into this expecting something like Resident Evil 4, you are going to be sorely disappointed. But if you happen to be a Game Pass subscriber, it is day one on Game Pass, and it genuinely looks like it could be up there with some of the best indie games of the year, especially
mhm,
coming out at the perfect time for it, a few days before Halloween itself. It looks amazing. Atmosphere, top notch. Music, amazing. The combat looks great. I love that it looks like it's leaning into the survival aspect, so you're not just going to have 500 billion boxes of ammo at your disposal. You're going to have to solve puzzles to find new weapons and ammo and supplies and anything that you could possibly need. It looks great. I am very excited for Signalis. I've been looking forward to it for a long time now, and I'm glad that it's finally close to releasing.
Yeah, it looks absolutely phenomenal. And if memory serves me correctly, now this could be wrong, I believe there is a demo currently available if you can't
I
wait.
do believe so.
Yeah, you can't if you can't wait that long. There's a demo available on PC that you can give it a go. I don't imagine it's too demanding on PC specs anyway. So,
Probably not.
any way, shape, or form, you can probably give it a shot. That comes out on the 27th, as mentioned. And our final game of this week, also coming out on the 27th, is Gunfire Reborn. Now, initial thoughts when I saw the trailer for this, it's you probably remember the Raw Fury title that hasn't come out yet, but is about to come out. Friends versus Friends. I felt like
Yes.
it looked like that, but amped up to 11. And I'm actually probably more interested in this now than I am in Friends versus Friends. But maybe give me a little bit more info because I'm not wholly in tune on what this
Yeah,
game is.
so Gunfire Reborn is another day one Game Pass title. So if you're a subscriber, you'll be able to play that on PC or console next week at no extra cost. But it is a first person co-op shooter. It reminds me a lot of a game like Risk of Rain, where you are working with people through roguelike levels that are kind of procedurally generated, collecting new weapons, better upgrades, trying to survive to the end of the level to fight the boss and advance. It seems like Gunfire Reborn at least is a little more linear than Risk of Rain would be, but very much that chaotic kind of overwhelming first person shooter type game with many different kinds of characters that all have different kinds of abilities that can complement one another and make things easier or more difficult depending on how you've structured your team. So fans of first person shooters, I think, will want to look into Gunfire Reborn. It's not quite your standard like Call of Duty, Battlefield, or anything like that, but it looks
Mhm,
like a lot of fun, which is typically the most important part of a shooter, at least in my opinion, is the game needs to be fun. The art style's phenomenal. I really love the look of it. The music is great. Like, probably, I know I've said the music is good on like almost every game this week, but Gunfire Reborn is probably at the top of the list when it comes to the music department. It is
mhm.
blood pumping, thrilling, just a lot of fun. I've played a little bit of a demo of it in the past. It's it's a killer game. Like it's a lot of fun, especially if you can grab some mates to go tag along with you as you plow through each of the levels.
Well, it's definitely something we're going to have to give a go at some point, Mike. Now, the 3 games that I think you've picked for this week, because that rounds off our week of games, I would like to say that I know very well, but I think this is actually the most difficult week for me to pinpoint which ones would be the ones you'd be most interested in. I think Signalis is one of them, just because
It
it's
is.
kind of
That's
it is a
probably
bit of
my
an
number one.
yeah, it's a bit of an out there pick. Unless you really like this sort of style, you probably wouldn't have included in the list. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking that's the way. um, what are the ones though? Ooh, I think Gunfire Reborn is on there.
it is.
Okay, one more left, and I'm torn between Mountain Blade 2 or the Pinball Wizard. And now watch it be Frog Song. Frog Song. Um, I'm gonna say though, Pinball Wizard.
It's Frog Song.
I knew it. I didn't. I knew it. I should have stuck to my guns. I thought, he's putting Frog Song because it's for me. Mike's like, oh yeah, Odrin game of the week, and I thought that would be the end of it, but no, it's also on one of your top favorite games of the week. So killing two birds with one stone there, really, Mike, wasn't it? Now I feel like that was a little bit less of a personalized pick for me, and I feel kind of slighted by that. But we'll get
It's
we'll get
still the
over it.
Odrin game of the week. I just it's a frog game. I like frog games. Every time there's a frog game, I include it on the week. Like Frog Gun a few weeks ago, I had. Like I just like games about frogs. And Frog Island, I had that on there too. It's just frog games. I just like talking about games that are about frogs.
Well, I'll keep that in mind if we ever see a frog game on the list again. I'll know that it's in the top
They'll
three
never
for
be added
sure.
again now.
Sorry, developers who are developing frog games, you're not making it onto this list. Um, but yeah, I'll take 2 out of 3. I'm happy with that. But as always, there's some great games on the list. I mean, Mountain Blade 2 and Pinball Wizard, Mike not putting them on their list is certainly not a damnation of those games. They
No.
both look phenomenal in their own
Yeah, they
way.
both look great.
But yeah, if there's any games we've missed out on, please leave them in the comments below. If there's any games that you've played on the list by the time this comes out, please let us know and let us know your thoughts on them as well. As always, as I like to mention at the end of the video, you can always go and follow the wonderful Mike Zoke over on Twitter at Mike Zoke, and of course Indie Games Tracker, all linked down below. And if you want to keep up to date with any of the gaming sandbox news, all of our social links will be linked down below. And something I don't say enough of, but I feel like is kind of something you should do on YouTube is you should subscribe. That's kind of an important thing, I think. But yeah, that's about it for this week. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.